Welcome back, everybody. Let's see. I'm seeing all these happy faces come in. There's Bridget. There's Christina. All right. And Tina is here. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks again for joining us here at Ideal 22, the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility for Learning Conference, hosted by the Training, Learning, and Development community. This morning, I am honored and very excited to have Sudeep Mohandas speaking to everybody today and sharing his presentation. I was lucky enough, I think it was in October, where I saw Sudeep on a webinar that Open Sesame was hosting, and a lot of you were probably in the Lisa Weisner session that took place earlier this week. And Rubina had invited me to Sudeep's webinar, and I was just I was thrilled. I was blown away. I was so engaged the entire time, and so I'm so glad that we're able to have Sudeep here at this event, and that he is going to be sharing with all of you today. The Uncanny Understanding to DEI. And just a little bit about Sudeep. Sudeep has grown up in a few different countries, worked in various nations, speaks different languages. He just has a variety of global experiences. He works for the Center for Global Inclusion, and I will go ahead and post his LinkedIn URL in chat for all of you, so you can connect with him there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hide myself from the screen and let you take it away, Sudeep. I'll be in the background when you need me.
Thank you so much, Luis. And it's an honor to be here. I really appreciate all the kind words that you've actually shared. I'm going to be sharing some slides with you, but not to worry. As we go through the whole thing, I hope that I'll be able to reach out to you on certain areas. Let me get my slides up. There we go. All right. Oops, sorry. Okay, I started with the end. See, always start with the end in mind, right? As they say. There we go. Okay, there we go. So, I hope you can see my slides and you can hear me clearly. If there's not, I'm sure I'll be prompted by Luis. So before we start, I just want to let you know that this topic here is basically a view of how I have seen DEI in the global context. As it was pointed out, a lot of what I've been put in these couple of slides for the next half an hour, 40 minutes before we go into Q&A is about how I see the world in the context. And I'm going to be sharing some things, and I hope it'll be insightful and useful for you. I don't pretend to be a DNI expert. I'm not. Neither am I a DI practitioner, but I have stories to tell and experiences to bring to all of you from the ground up. And I hope that will benefit all of you as we move along. So before we start, I just want to, get an idea from all of you in terms of, what is your country of heritage? If you can share that out, and Luis can tell me, just put that out in your chat. I'm not talking about where you're calling from, but your country of heritage. Just give me an idea so I know who I'm speaking to in terms of the context.
Okay, we're seeing Canada, India, Germany, Scotland, USA. My heritage is from the Philippines.
Okay, we're neighbors. Mine is from Malaysia.
There you go. Nice. Cindy's from Mexico. Excellent. Oh, Heather, US and Japan. What else have we got?
Oh, great. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing that we say where we're calling from, but the moment I start talking about, a country of heritage, then you begin to see the complexities and the intersectionality issues that come about. And I hope I'm able to reach all of you through the next couple of minutes as we move along. Thank you for sharing. The next one I just want to quick get an eye is basically how many languages do you speak right now? Can you just put that out? One, two, three. I'm not asking about, in terms of what languages you speak. I just want to know how many.
Let's see. I'm seeing three, three, one, two, three. Some are saying one fluently and one at an intermediate level. Aaron one, Heather one. Wow, surprised. This is great.
Wonderful. Okay. And the reason why I'm asking that is because, sometimes we think in different languages, and languages are a very important part to the way we actually conduct ourselves. For example, there are people, because their native language is such that they have to stress on certain tones or raise their voice on certain elements. They use that when they actually speak on a professional language, let's say English, and it comes out very strange, as if either being rude or not being polite, but that's how their native language speaks, and it's perfectly fine. So understanding that is a start to getting people to understand that if you know people's backgrounds and where the languages they speak, you'll be able to appreciate a little bit more of the diversity that goes along. So I'm going to now go into a little bit about myself. And the reason I'm not doing this, I'm not trying to, brag about anything, but just to give you a context of where I'm coming from. These are the countries that I've actually lived in. And if you look at these countries right now, and I'm not going to, say where they are from, but immediately, could you point out a country from Asia and Africa or Europe or in the US? They all look the same as far as I'm concerned on an image. Although some you probably will recognize the Big Ben, um, but that goes to show it today in the world. Cosmopolitan, being a city, all looks about the same. The question now is about where your background is and all that. The strange thing is we have certain biases and certain prejudices of how the media takes us, and when we talk about certain countries, we don't realize it looks almost the same when you actually live in these countries. It's just the way the culture and how the people arrive and appreciate the way things are done. And these are some of the work that I've done in my past. I've been very much involved with WWF, Amnesty. I did a lot of work in AIDS in the 80s and 90s. So conservation, human rights, medical health, and currently, right now, I'm doing a lot of DEI. And so I've been very much on the ground trying to, propagate, trying to propel issues and missions that are very important so that people can actually understand what's actually happening, and speaking for the people who can't speak, particularly the ones who are actually marginalized and ostracized or kept at a distance and not given the opportunity. So I'm coming with that from that corner, and I hope when I share a few things, you'll appreciate why I'm saying this. It's not to say that I'm an expert, like I said, but just to give you the perspective. Before we start, I would like Luis to share this video. And it's a very important video because it'll give you the context. And those of you who have already watched this, it's always good to watch it again because and learn a little bit. And I would like to hear a little bit of your reflections after this video. So, Luis, do I stop sharing right now?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
I would describe my political views as the new right.
I say that I'm left.
Feminism today is man-hating.
I would describe myself as a feminist, 100%.
I don't believe that climate change exists.
We're not taking enough action on climate change.
I think it's about time these people got off the high horse and started looking for credible problems that actually exist.
It's absolutely critical that trans people have their own voice.
That's not right. You can't, you're a man, be a man, or you're a female, be a female.
Women do need to remember that we need you to have our children.
Could I be friends with someone that says a woman's place is in the home?
Right, okay, well, I'm an expert at flat packs. If you have any trouble, just watch me.
So it looks like I've got your instructions here.
I think so. Let me help you.
Let's have just that bit there.
Describe what it is like to be you in 5 adjectives.
Okay. Frustrating.
Dedicated.
Opinionated,
Lucky.
Ambitious.
offensive,
Solemn. I have ups and downs.
Strong.
I want to say attacked. Misunderstood.
Name 3 things you and I have in common.
we're both male, we're both confident, and we're both loudly spoken.
We know each other better than people who've known each other for 10 minutes should.
You seem quite ambitious and positive, and you've got this really, got a glow. Do you know what I'm saying? Your aura's pretty cool.
I'm sensing, are you former military or something?
People have said that, but there is no
Really?
history. So are you then ex-military?
Yeah.
If you're ex-military, I'm very proud of you already.
Well,
So
I grew up in a bit of a rough state. I've experienced homelessness. I've known what it's like to have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely most grateful just for life.
We've only just met, but I think you're the sort of person that would listen to me and we'd have a discussion rather than an argument.
Yeah, you could hang out with, man.
let's go. My chance.
Goodness sake.
You're right, mate.
Fitter than I look.
Perfecto.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
So basically, I think we just built a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here you are.
Each take a bottle and place it on its corresponding markings on the bar.
Attention, please now stand to watch a short film.
Feminism today is definitely an excuse for misandry, man-hating.
If somebody said to me that climate change is destroying the world, then I'd say that is total piffle.
So transgender, it is very odd. We're not set up to understand or see things like that.
I am a daughter, a wife. I am transgender.
I feel like the battle for feminism definitely isn't done. The fight is never going to be over, if I'm honest with you.
You now have a choice. You may go, or you can stay and discuss your differences over a beer.
I'm only joking.
You're happy for a second then.
Well, I'm having a drink.
I'm having a drink.
Yeah.
I want to discuss.
Beer.
Yeah, beer and discuss.
All right, thank you, Louis.
Cheers.
At the end of the day, mate,
About
I've enjoyed
reaching out to
working with
people,
you.
yeah. And, you know, even
So, I'd like to know what's happening. What's people's reactions to this video? So I can see people are coming by with some of the views. Powerful. Anybody else? Somebody said, I would like to know what their conversation was like. Unfortunately, that was never shared. Authentic, emotional, more alike than what we think. Yes, yes, yes. So you can see that at the end of the day, we may have differences of opinions and views, and we hold all onto them strongly. But when you put that all aside and we don't actually, discuss about them, we're actually, can be actually good friends. And what's actually dividing us is really the opinions and the views that we actually have, the differences, of views, and we hold on to them very strongly. And that's kind of segregating and severing all that. But in actual fact, we could actually sit down and talk about it if we just become friends first, and get to know each other, and and respect the fact that everybody has their own views. Everybody wants to do that. So I thought this would be an interesting video to just start off, get you all thinking on that area. And I'm going to just go on to my slide now. Thank you, Louis, for sharing that. So we basically had, I'm happy for hearing everybody's views on this. And I also want to just take you into the whole element about, when we talk about DEI, we want to be inclusive. But as much as we try to be inclusive, there's so much where people are trying to still push for exclusivity. For example, we want to be inclusive, but we want to be part of a group. We set up WhatsApp groups. We set up, certain team ESGs, certain groups, and it's trying to, within the inclusivity, we are setting up exclusivity. And to me, that's very, an interesting observation. And how does that all work? When we talk about the whole element that we want diversity, but sometimes we're just trying to bring people of a certain view or like-minded still together. And then the image on the seat belt, a lot of what has actually been designed in the past and still remains as what it is, are things like the seat belt. When it was first designed, it was designed for the fact of for the male body, not understanding or not having the appreciation of the fact that the female body is different. And in this case, if the person is actually pregnant, it's also carries. And now today, people come up with all different sizes and all that, and the seat belts can be quite an uncomfortable element to it. And nothing has changed. The seat belt remains as it is, despite the fact that the cars have changed, the dynamics have changed, but the seat belt and the way the seat belt is still remains. And then the third image is the fact that there's always this point about where our lifestyles are, and we follow certain rituals and certain beliefs that is the way it should be. And I succumb to it, where if you look at the old movies and you look at how things are, the women will always get proposed by the male. But today things have changed. Some people are not comfortable with it, and some people are put a stand where they would prefer it otherwise. But things are moving, as we see, and people have to get used to this. Another element I want to just share with you is, we keep talking about the world, about everything that's actually happening in the world, but there are certain things we have to understand. For example, this word bikini. Now, all of you know that the word is a two-piece swimsuit. But if you actually go back in history and you find out how this word actually arrived, you will find out that at the end of the day, it was originated from a German word given by the Germans during the time when they were conquered the Marshall Islands, a bikini atoll, which is basically a lot of corals that actually came up in the sea and built itself into an island. And it was an island that was actually inhabited by many people. Unfortunately, after the atomic bombs, it was used as a place to actually test out the atomic weapons. And only very recently, in 2002, a report came out that something like 11,000 U.S. citizens had died as a result of Bikini Islands being devastated due to the nuclear bombs. Now, only just recently, one of the last surviving people from Bikini Islands passed away. And what happened was, soon after the Hiroshima Nagasaki, and then Bikini Islands was then later tested as one of the places, because that time the US were testing it further. The fashion industry decided to use the word bikini, and lo and behold, it became a success as a two-piece swimsuit. Now, when I bring this factor to you, and if you are a person who belongs to the island of Bikini and you know the history, would you be offended by people using the word bikini? Would you ever, now that you know this, would you ever now use that word? Because when you use the word, you're actually, it's actually making reference to an island. People today are getting a lot of, whole custody to the words of "I can't breathe," but which has actually been said before George Floyd. People are holding to those words. People quote those things. Well, so the issue is, we have to understand that around the world, a lot of things have been used for the purpose of commercialization and for purposes of generating income, not knowing the history behind it. Another element to global history is that we tend to succumb to the fact that we forget what's actually happened in the past. And if you actually go back in history and find out how the global maps were designed during the days of the great voyagers, people who journeyed across the globe, from Vasco da Gama, San Bartolomeo, Columbus, and many Chinese and Polynesians who were going around the world traveling. The maps were upside down. Well, I won't say upside down. I would say were where the south hemisphere was above, up, and the north hemisphere was below. It was only after the particular colonization of the Western Front that the maps turned around, and where now we have the northern hemisphere on top and the southern hemisphere, as we put it, below. Why that is so, I mean, I leave that to you and further research. But the early maps were the opposite, and today we have this a biased view that it's easier to read a map north and south. But those days it was read the other way around. So what does it tell? That how things have changed and we've kind of accepted, and how things have been put in place. So as I go along, I'm just trying to give you an idea, just to provoke the view, your thinking and how things are. The other element is from a minority versus majority element. There's a lot of argument that diversity actually brings productivity, makes things happen. But there are many arguments that show that even if you're in a homogeneous, sorry, I'm skipping number one, but I'll come back to that. And number two, when you're in a community that is a lot more homogeneous, there is a lot of productivity equally, where people are making arguments that understanding cultural similarities, they don't actually have to justify each other, and they can actually be quite successful. So just because diversity does bring productivity, there are arguments that show that there are different ways of looking at things. The question now is, what are we saying about merit? What are we saying about equality? Which to me makes more sense than anything. The minority and majority communities as well. There are certain parts of the world where it's the majority that actually gets more benefits than the minority. They get housing benefits, they get scholarships, they get access to government privileges, and the minority doesn't, simply because the government stand still is the fact that they were the natives of the land. And so, as much as we are trying to say that it's the people who are the minorities should be given that, there are many countries still strongly believe that the majority is the one that actually deserves it. And then we have this element about algorithms and technology. I mean, very recently, those pulse readers that actually went out in terms of reading people's pulse was eventually identified as giving incorrect readings for the people who are dark skinned. So what does that tell you about the algorithms today? Many people have argued that the algorithms today are still not DEI compliant. And then we have got the technology part, whereby we give names to certain machines, like Alexa or Einstein, and then those machines are such that they come across as, some people have argued that Alexa is basically more of a secretarial service, and Einstein is more of giving the intelligence perspective, and which, how does that work? So there's this element as well. And then we have the politics and religion, whereby as much as we don't like to talk about it, it's very much subsumed, it's imbibed in the way we do things, especially if whether you are into religion, or you're an atheist or agnostic, or you're into politics, or you're apolitical. You still have an opinion, and you bring that into your workplace. So, and DEI, as much as we talk about it, that conversation is sometimes put aside, but it has to be brought into a conversation. It's been shown that religion is one of the biggest membership communities, and it brings a lot, trillions of dollars to people's welfare, and it tackles communities that are never reached in terms of from the government or from schools or from wherever. They actually reach out to as many people as possible. And then we have this element of the numbers and letters. Numbers and letters are an interesting element, because we talk about our name a lot. I really hold on to my name and my identity and name, but actually in the real world, the name carries not as much weight as the number, which means that your passport number carries more weight, your social security number carries more weight, your national ID carries more weight, and your phone number carries more weight. And I say that because even if you put your name, you always have to add your phone number or your social security or ID and all that. And those are the things that define your name. Sadly so. So when we talk about the fact that, our identity and, the fact that our culture, and we give a name to it, that's fine. But numbers, are basically how we are identified in the real world. And then we have the element of the economics and lifestyle. It's one thing saying that, in the United States, we're saying that, okay, we like to see the world more diverse and equity and all that. But when we look in the economics of, for example, the currency, now, right now, the US currency has become very strong. But as much as we try to, we become a strong currency, somewhere down the road in parts of the world, that has made the currency much more weaker for them, and they can't afford to buy goods because the US dollar has become very strong. And therefore, now their lifestyle diminishes, and they're not able to be getting the equity that they want. We see a lot of expatriates who still earn US dollars and live in a country whereby the US dollar currency carries more weight. But what about the locals who are only earning the respective? How do you balance out the equity on that? So lifestyle and economics has a very, very important component when you talk about all these issues. I also like to now I'm just like to take you through this element. But before we go into this, are there any feedback anyone like to say with regard to what I've just shared early on? I'll stop sharing this. Anything on the chat? Luis?
Let's see here. I'm seeing there's some older comments just from Gerardo. Oh, this was mostly in reference to the video we saw. I'm not seeing anybody post here. We'll give it a second. No, definitely that last slide was so thought-provoking for me just to consider those things. It's something I'm going to definitely have to reflect on after the session is over.
Yeah. So I too do definitely appreciate the fact that most people will be, as they're listening to this, they're probably wondering, thinking about it. And so I'm not expecting an immediate reaction. I'm hoping that at least people get to think about it, what I'm saying. So perhaps let's just share this video now, Luis.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Quale bambola è bianca? Quale bambola è nera? Quale delle due è bella?
Questa.
Qual è quella bella? Qual è quella brutta? E qual è quella buona? Quale è cattiva? Qual è buona?
Lei.
Perché è buona?
Perché ha gli occhi celesti.
Quale è cattiva? Perché è cattiva?
Perché è tutto nero.
E qual è la bambola che ti somiglia di più? Quale bambola è nera?
Mi ha offeso. Tu. Perché mi hai chiamato nera?
Perché ti offendo?
Mi offendi perché altri bambini mi hanno offeso con cattiveria.
No, io non ho usato nessuna cattiveria.
Quello mi sta guardando storto.
Thank you, Luis. So, that's right. I hear Gerardo says crazy the experiment was originally performed in the 40s and you see the same thing today. Yep, that's right. That's right. Anyone else like to reflect on that? And it starts all at a young age. And so, as much as we all talking about today, we're all talking to the adults. We're forgetting about the children. And I'm really worried about the fact that we're not getting enough conversations with the children. That's how I look at it, because children are going through this a lot, and it's affecting them. And we could see this continue and continue and continue. As was pointed out. Tough one for me to watch. Yes, that's right, Luis. It's beyond. Yep. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Tina. So here we have it, where we're trying to put a point and still things have not changed over time. Let me go back to my slides. We're coming towards the end, and I just like to ask you right now, when you see this flag of different nations, what comes to your mind? I'm not asking you to identify these flags, but really I'm just asking you, when you look at these flags, what comes to your mind? Luis, can you just tell me in the chat what people say?
Let's see. Bridget is saying internationality. Tina saying potential places I want to visit and learn about. Megan says the UN.
Okay.
I just love the colors personally. I just love the design and the colors.
Right. So the interesting thing about this is the fact that curiosity about flags I don't recognize. I wonder what the symbols mean. Yes, that's right. So one of the things people do hold dearly is their flags, uh, and we as much as uh, we talk about the fact that it does bring people together. We take it very lightly, but I know especially when people do the burning of the flags or try to remove symbols from the flags, and show or turn the flag upside down. All these are disrespectful to the flag of any country. You want to make sure you honor them. And yet, many people, when they look at flags, they get an impression. And one of the studies have shown that by just looking at certain flags, is that people tend to look at it from an angle. This could be from the continent of Africa. This could be from the continent of Europe. This could be from them. And these flags right now, a lot of people have kind of fix it into the fact that this could be from Asia or Africa. But in fact, quite a few of these flags actually are coming from Europe. And it seems to show that people's biases of how they look at colors and how they look at design and visually see things gives people an impression of how people see things. The other thing is certain flags have weapons in them. They have the sword. They've got I think it's a gun. Some countries have weapons in them, and that's part of their culture. And so one has to also understand that by just looking at the flag, you can get a general idea of how they look at it. So let me just go my slide again. You want to get that onto the main slide? How do I change my slides? Luis, you are presenting. Okay. All right, there we go. So I like to just end here by just saying that There's a famous quote by Abdul Kalam, who was the 11th president of India from 2002 2007, and he made this quote. You know, just be proud to yourself, because people always doubt that gold for its purity, not the iron. In other words, what he's trying to say is that, when you are great, when you are big, people are going to doubt you. And when you try to make something happen, people will doubt you. And so, if you're gold, people will always look for the impurities. People will never accept you to be 100% pure in what you're doing. But they don't make that reference when it comes to iron, although iron is made up of many impurities. People take iron as iron, and yet it's full of impurities in that sense. So, to me, is a very interesting quote. And I just wanted to tell all of you that, as much as I've shared, and I hope I've given you some food for thought, I also wish that the fact that you all believe that, we all can make a difference, and together we can make change. With that, I'd like to thank you. So I'm open for Q&A.
All right, let's take a look here. Folks, please, if you have any questions at all, add them to either the Q&A area or drop them in the thought. I can see lots of thank yous coming around. I do have a question for you, Sudeep, which on Monday when we started the event out, we had one particular participant who had asked this question, and it was a little controversial, but he was asking if DEI was irrelevant in non-Western countries.
So it depends on how you look at the geography of the world. As long as there's people from different, we identify ourselves by nationalities only when it's required. But in actual fact, we really identify ourselves by our region and our language and our culture and our belief system. And so DI will remain. The question now is that the word for it? People are challenging about it. And I think the question, so it will continue to be there. It will always continue to be there in many parts of the other different parts of the world. Already we are seeing a lot of Westerners move to Africa and settle down there. So things are changing. The whole globe is moving in different ways. So yes, it will still remain.
Is there a particular, with your experience globally, is there a particular region that you feel like has more focus on equity and and diversity than that could be used as a model?
Sadly, basically, from my experience, no. And that's because we have the power of we have got two very important powers and the high end of the animal chain, and that is the power to discriminate and the power of consciousness. If we choose to discriminate negatively and we consciously do it, there we go. So as long as people hold on to these two powerful tools that we have, we will always have this element of inequity, non-inclusiveness, the element of not being diversified. In fact, whenever we do things, for example, I was just looking at the reaction button, and there's a thumbs up. In many parts of the world, that the thumbs up actually means the middle finger. And so we just, in this part of the world, we just give the thumbs up. On photographs we throw thumbs up, not knowing that you could be offending others in how you're doing. So this will continue. Just like, for example, if you show the sole of your foot or your shoe, in many cultures it's rude, it's not polite. So but some people they do it not knowing. So the world will continue to have these conversations and discussions, and it will always bring us and them. It's not going to end. But I think that's what is beautiful about this world. I mean, we live with differences and we learn about each other, and the more we try to accept and appreciate, and we will grow to love each other more.
I love it. I do have a question from Cindy, who is asking, do you have recommendations for off-the-shelf training content to build cross-cultural collaboration skills? And I know you did that series with Open Sesame. I don't know if there's anything that you're specifically familiar with that you can recommend.
So the fast, quick answer to you, Cindy, is I don't have off-the-shelf training. A lot of it's customized. But there are many people who have actually developed this stuff, and there are many people who claim to be experts. And like I said, I don't come in as an expert. I just come in as a purely as a voice for the millions, and bringing to you observations that I've picked up from many people around the world.
Nice. Okay. And let's see, Christina is asking, what particular practices in your experience has helped to build belonging in cross-cultural organizations?
Well, the first thing is the ability to do three things: use the fork and spoon, use the chopstick, and use your hand when it comes to eating. If you can do all these three things, you have cut through an element of feeling belong to many cultures, and you will also feel a sense of being belonged invariably by the people you live with.
That is such an interesting answer. I'm so glad that I can do all three myself. So I think I'm I'm ahead in the game. Is there anything maybe in the workplace that you
Yeah.
have any?
So, well, there we are. You see, it's always at the workplace when we have lunches and we have discussions
Yeah.
and all that, right? So, and that's where you really bond. You can use the computer and you can do emails and all that. But if you start by building a connection that you understand people, because you can sit down over lunch and use your hand, immediately things will turn around. We have to do something beyond the norm of just, the other element, I guess I will say, is basically when it comes to organizations, is to, these do designing artificial um, experiments to have activities is not really the way I see it. What is important is to bring people, um, and allow organizations to say, like, take a day off, let's go and have some time off in a different culture and learn how those things are. Having the experience brings more benefit than actually learning it from a book or from a to me. Everyone will pick up that way. We use all of five senses from that angle. So that's the best way for me as far as concerned. I mean, I'm not able to share all this just by the fact that I read a book. I mean, Lee Kuan Yew, one of the past prime ministers of Singapore, mentioned one day, he said that, show me a leader who became a great leader by going for a leadership course. So it all goes for the fact that we have to understand that a lot of it comes from, your self-belief and touching on the elements that actually matter most.
I love it. Sudeep, I'm just so curious about your mission and the Center of Global Inclusion. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how did that develop? What inspires your journey?
So the Center for Global Inclusion was actually set up a benchmark that was brought together by over 112 people who wanted to make change globally to DEI, and it's available for free on our website. People can download it, and it's taken many organizations across the world to use it. And they found it to be very comprehensive. It's not a quick fix. It is a very, very rigorous, comprehensive steps, and that actually what brought the organization to where it is. We have now moved beyond that, because we realize that everyone's doing a benchmark, everyone has a tool, everyone's doing that, but ours is normally the referred to one. And I say that with a lot of pride, because we're talking about World Bank, IMF, UN. The large multinational, Amazon, McDonald's, are using it. But we're also looking at mental health, and we're looking at issues of authenticity, self. We're looking at human rights issues, because we realize that at the end of the day, we need to be in that space when we talk about it. We also recognize the fact that every country has their own view of DEI. Some don't talk about, recently, right now in the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, We have a lot of issues about the pride element, but many other countries also have issues on other aspects. So we try to get into those spaces, but we try not to be political by putting a stance, but we try to influence through education and research. So right now, as I speak to you, it's giving you that information that only helps you understanding and giving a different perspective. So that's where we are taking it. We think that it's important that people have a research-based awareness.
Love it. And just your personal journey.
My personal journey. Well,
Yeah.
I would tell you, my personal journey is to bring people together. I'm a person who doesn't like to hold on to my network. I like to share it. I feel only by sharing, it's cliched as it may seem, sharing is caring. To me, everybody is my own family, and because I'm a very strong believer in reincarnation, I'm sure at sometime down the road, I probably was a Pinoy. I probably was someone from Iran, someone from the US. So who am I to speak about diversity when I myself might be totally diverse if I look at the whole grand scale of my life. So I like to think that I belong to everybody.
I love it. Sudeep, thank you so much for a wonderful session. I am so inspired by you. And if there's anything that our community can do for you or the Center of Global Inclusion, please reach out. Let me know. I'll continue to try to promote your webinars and all the activities that you're doing. It's just been an honor to have you here today.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. So that's the only session for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be wrapping it up with, we're talking assessment. We're talking more DEI tomorrow, last day, Friday. So hopefully we'll see you all then. Thanks again, Sudeep. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.